Hello and welcome to the Milford Finance Committee, April 11th, 2018. First item on the agenda, the approval of the March 14th minutes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Before you start, since this is April 11th, let's recognize it's the 238th birthday of the town of Milford. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I am going to executive privilege say that no one is singing tonight, so, yeah. All right.
Schiavi, thank you.
You're
Thank you for calling that to our attention. Very good.
You read that in a book somewhere.
It's right behind you.
I was joking because you pointed up there. All right, to the approval of the minutes for March 14th, 2018. Motion by Chuck.
Second.
Thank you. By Schiavi. All those in favor?
One abstention, I wasn't here.
All right,
Two.
two abstentions. All right, next item on the agenda is the Personnel Board. We have Article 2. Are you chairing, Dennis? I'm sorry.
Yes, I am.
All right. Chairman Carroll is here from the Personnel Board to talk about Article 2. I know he's got a presentation. He had that for the Selectmen meeting on Monday as well. So just why don't you come up and give us the info.
Okay. All right.
Um,
You get the passwords.
What I'm hoping to do is
Still needs
just
a
briefly
password
go
for
over
the computer. Do you have that whole list?
what it is we're proposing for Article 2 this year. And I'm only gonna concentrate on the hourly and salary portion of it. There is some other things that we did, but they're minor. So the vision statement for Article 2 is to provide competitive wages and benefits to hourly and salary employees that fall under the Article 2 jurisdiction. Sorry about that.
That one works better.
Is this website or
I apologize, no, it is not. If Dennis sends it to me, I'll put it up on the drive. They were asking if this presentation, if you could send that to me so I can put it up on the drive for everyone.
Yep.
So when Dennis sends it to me,
I had sent it to Zach, I thought he did forward it to you.
you
He already
did?
I didn't send it to you.
Oh, you didn't send it to me. Okay, thank you. I apologize because I didn't know I didn't. But as soon as I get it, guys, I will upload it to the drive and I'll let you all know when it's up there. Sorry, Dennis.
It's okay.
Yep.
Goals and objectives, the goal is to attract, hire, and retain qualified employees. The last 6 months or so, we've had some issues trying to find employees within our salaried organizations for local inspector and also for building commissioner. So we had already done some studies in that area and found that we were below market value for those particular jobs. The objective, pay a competitive wage and benefits. Today's situation, the town of Milford, Article 2 hourly and salaried wages are on average 10% below surveyed communities. We have the 12 to 14 communities that we've surveyed since 1990. Same list of towns.
And we added three years ago.
We added 3 at the request of the selectmen 4 years ago. And in looking at those surveyed towns for the positions that we have comparable positions to in Milford, we found that on average, we're 10% below. That was for salaried people only. We did not do hourly.
Okay.
We did the salary. And I have detailed spreadsheets that back that up, if you guys want to look at them.
Oh, absolutely. If you could send that along with that, that'd be great.
Is it appropriate to ask? To Zach as well.
Let's,
I wanted to refer back to what he just said.
yeah.
Dennis, when you compared the salaries,
Mhm.
did you also compare the benefits?
No,
Are they included in it?
no, the benefits are not included in it.
I mean, to compare,
So,
to compare apples with apples.
I understand what you're saying, Aldo, and no, we did not compare the benefits. You know, as far as the benefits go, I am not that familiar with all of the other towns that we surveyed. I can't tell you whether or not they're comparable to Milford or
And
not.
it's certainly very intricate, especially with health insurance and the different deductible programs and everything. I would
Well,
think that would
The retirement
really,
benefits are very similar, I know
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
talking with other people that work in other towns.
Yeah.
But in detail, I can't go into
Yeah.
a comparison.
Thank you.
There were surveys that were conducted over the past 3 years for all salaried levels. We have 5 salaried levels for our salaried employees in the town of Milford. 4 of those levels have employees that fall within Article 2. The 5th level are all contracted employees. The police chief's in there, fire chief, town council, town accountant. So all of those people don't fall under our jurisdiction any longer. But we did survey those positions as well, as part of it. The 13 towns were surveyed, and the results were provided in those spreadsheets. Now, on the spreadsheets, when I did the comparison, what I took was not necessarily what the person was making, what the employee in the town of Milford was making. What I took was the median of what we are today for that particular job class versus the median that I compared to in the survey. So when you look at the report, you'll see that I'm comparing the medians, not the salaries. In some cases, the town's salaries, if you compare them, are much higher because you've got longevity. So you've got people that are working in other towns that have been there for 15, 20, 25 years, and they're making much more than what the
Excuse the
median
numbers, yeah.
is. But compared to the median, we're on average 10% below. So how did we get here? Well, the current hourly and salary rates were determined based on survey information completed in 2015. We did some of it in 2014 in preparation for the presentation that we did in 15, but the majority of it was in 15. These rates were competitive in 15. At that point in time, we were really competitive with the marketplace. Subsequent survey information performed over the past 2 years, that information initially, when I first got the results 2 years ago, I went to Jerry Moody and said, what I'd like to do is incorporate this in Article 2 for that year. And he suggested, no, you're going to cause some problems with other employees if you give some of the people raises and you don't give it to all of them. So wait until you get the surveys completed for all 4 labor grades and then do it. So that's what we did. We held off. Well, then there was conversations with the selectmen and yourself recently over the issue that we had with the commission. And at that time, in the meeting, I promised that we would attempt to rectify the situation. And I felt if we could do it, we should do all. And we did. We pushed. We had several more meetings during the last 2 months, and we were able to accomplish what we are presenting tonight.
I think you went backwards instead of forwards.
So the current hourly and salary rates were determined based on the survey information. The rates were competitive in 2015, as I had said. Subsequent survey information was performed over the last 2 years. So what we have for options, we could leave the rates as they are. I mean, we're close, but we're not going to attract the best qualified candidate. So they're unacceptable if we want to compete for good qualified employees. I don't think any of the employees we have are going to leave. They're all pretty satisfied with what they're getting. It really is going to address the hiring of new employees. implement new rates and allow employees employee step to take place. By that, I mean, I don't know if you remember, we had 8 steps set up for the employees, both hourly and salary. So someone who's been in the job for 3 years is on step 3. What we're proposing in this particular case is not to allow that employee to take the next step this year, only to implement these new rates. If they took, as I say in the last option here, if we implement the new rates, employees remain at existing step. This option allows us to implement with a minimum increased cost to the town. The salary cost increased by a little over 2%, and the hourly cost increased by a little over 2.5%. I'm not sure you guys get what's behind that, but if I were to take someone who's currently in step 3 and move them to step 4, they get approximately a 6% increase. If we implement this change of rates, you're gonna get about an 8% increase. But they're not gonna go up a step.
Now you've lost me.
Okay. Let's back up then. You wanna use real numbers? Let's say right now, I'm making $40,000 a year, right? My next step would be a 6% step. 6% times 40 is what? $2,400? $2,400?
400.
So you add that in, right? So now we're at $42,400. Instead of doing that, we're gonna give that person an 8% increase. And they're gonna go to they're gonna have a $3,200 raise instead of a $2,400 raise, okay? The difference between those two is only a 2% increase. 6 versus 8.
Listen, guys, I think that this topic's gonna have a lot of debate. I'd like Dennis to get through the whole thing.
Yeah,
and
no,
then
go ahead.
And then
I
you
just-
guys can have your question, because I think maybe your question may or may not be answered on slide 3 or 4.
Okay.
And plus, like I said, I think there's gonna be a lot of questions,
No,
so,
just legit, let him go through.
yeah,
I
and just let Dennis finish, yeah.
Why didn't we complete it?
So what we're proposing is that we keep the employee at their existing step. We don't allow them to up a step this year, and we implement this new rate structure. It's like adding a 9th step without adding a 9th step. So it's gonna give everybody an extra year within these 8 steps, and it's also going to make the rates competitive.
It's like staying back in school. When I watch your selectmen meeting, that's kind of the way I looked at it.
Okay. Well, we ended it. So the recommendation is implement the no-step option. This will provide Milford hourly and salary employees with the needed adjustment to pay levels and make us competitive in hiring and retaining employees. The support of the Selectmen and Finance Committee will help get the Article 2 passed with these needed changes. The Personnel Board will continue to monitor via surveys and compare our wages to surrounding towns. This is something that we said we were gonna do when we first implemented the plan 3 years ago. We said we were gonna survey all of the salary positions over a 3-year period, and if it warranted, we were gonna bring forth the increases required to make us competitive, or keep us competitive. And that's what we're doing. That's it.
Okay, before I open it up, I just, I have a couple comments, and then we can open it up. I went in and watched our, actually 23-month ago to the day meeting on May 11th, 2016. So it was under 2 years ago regarding this presentation. And I know that we unanimously voted unfavorable about it at that time. Dennis, I'm having a really hard time knowing that you guys spent 2 years on a plan, and already 23 months later, we're so far out of whack that we need to look at it. And to the point where I'm wondering, did you guys go back to your consultant? Because,
No. I don't.
no, I'm not even talking about to work for you. I'm talking about to get some money back. Because I feel that they completely blew this. Because to know that 23 months later, we're already 10% off where we should have been, that study couldn't have been done properly.
When you say it was 2 years ago, Chris?
23 months ago to the day.
16.
It was 2 years ago.
May 11th, 2016. I watched the meeting today on YouTube. And in fact, one of the
Was
quotes
it-
that we had,
For fiscal year 17 or
the
16?
meeting we had was May 11th, 2016. 23 months ago, we had the meeting. And we're already back here. And in fact, at 24 minutes into my meeting, a quote was made by one of your committee members, and actually he's in the back, that it was fully expected that for 5 years, there wouldn't be one major change. No, it wasn't definitive, but they could not even possibly imagine that within 5 years, there would be any major movements. And we're 23 months in, and we're talking about basically a complete revamp of Article 2. I don't get it. And to the point where, like I said, I would have contacted my consultant. The Bennett report lasted for 10 years. In this report that we unanimously voted against, which now that I'm looking at this, it sounds like we were pretty smart. That we weren't ready to do what we were doing, because I think if we didn't have the accurate numbers 23 months ago, that we should have addressed it then. And if we needed to make them higher at the time, 10% higher, then we would have. But there's no way that every 23 months that we're 10% off our numbers. And if they are, let me tell you, I'm quitting the camera business, and I'm getting in municipalities, if every 23 months they're going up 10%. It doesn't make sense, because we're already built in with our steps and
Well,
raises.
Wait a minute, it's not going up 10%, Chris.
You're telling me we're 10% off the median, and that's 23 months later, and that's with the new program instituted with the new steps in lanes, and we're still off 10%. And
We're not upping it 10% though.
I didn't say you're upping it, but you're telling me we're off by 10%, which
On
means our
average-
study.
On average, we are. I mean, you can go back and look at the
And I
different
believe
salary
you,
levels.
and I'm not arguing with you, Dennis. We may be when we look at the data, but all I'm saying is that means that study was way off. If just 23 months later, we're here. And I know that all of us received an email today about 3 o'clock today from the finance director. And I think what you're doing is good, but by no means do I think that I am in any position to say that we need to rush it. And I had told you at our meeting, do it right. And I think going to town meeting with this at this point, we took 2 years, and I think we got it wrong. I don't want you to put something together in 6 weeks and then say that this is the right solution. That's my opinion, and I'm not saying any bad things about the personnel board. I don't think we did it right, and unanimously, we didn't think we did it right. And I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to open up the discussion for everyone else, but that's just my
I'm totally
opinion.
lost.
Mr. Chairman?
Are we saying we're unilaterally recommending that we don't let people move up in the steps that we promised them they could?
Correct.
How do you do
Does
that?
that make?
But you're moving all the steps up.
But
So they're
you're
gonna
gonna
get an
increase all the
8%
steps
raise.
across
Well,
the
wait a
board.
minute, if I'm at a level
23
and I'm
months ago.
supposed to move up
Now
a
with
step
a-
and I'm supposed to get 6%.
You're gonna get 8 instead of 6.
Oh,
Stay in the same.
Staying on the same step.
you're gonna get 8% next year instead of 6.
You get screwed.
Staying at the same step.
The guy that's,
So,
Just think of what happens when they get the step the next year.
well, that's what I'm saying. And I mean, realistically, why wouldn't the school, the police, the fire all come back and
What are
say,
the
we
ramifications
love
of
this
that?"
plan, we'd like to get not moved but stepped and give me 8% next year? I'm really confused.
Aldo's next.
Yeah, there's nothing confusing about it to me, but I've been working on it for the last 3 years, so
But Dennis, 2 years ago, we heard we were way out of whack, we gotta make these major changes, and it won't happen again, okay?
nobody
No, he
ever
didn't say it
said
didn't happen
won't
again. No,
happen
and I,
again.
to your
I wish
point,
you wouldn't say
to
that.
your point, Dennis, I agree. You said that we need reassessments. But like I said, we were told that and I have it, it was 24 minutes into the meeting.
No, I'm sure
that there would
somebody
be
did
no,
make
there would
that
be no movements for
I
5
guess
years.
not ever.
So I just
but-
wanted to defend Dennis,
No,
and
no,
he didn't
that's
say
fair,
that.
it's fair.
but
I misspoke, but 10% in 2 years?
That's,
Holy moly,
Where are you?
Batman. I mean,
Look at the numbers. I can't help what it is.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
Jerry's next, then Phil.
Mr. Chairman, in all fairness, you talk about surveying towns, okay?
Correct.
Before I'm going to buy into something like this kind of change, number one, I want to see the towns and the data that was gathered. I want to see the actual name of the town, the position that was surveyed.
We have it
and how-
all on the spreadsheet.
Let me finish. And how it compares in job description to the positions we have in town. Not just 5 towns, not just 10 towns. In order to get a good sample, there's 351 towns in the Commonwealth. I don't think 351 is a viable option, but I think 50 to 100 is certainly a viable option to do a proper survey. Okay, please don't shake your head at me, because it's about
I
time,
really don't
we
think
got this
50 is-
right.
I don't
And
think
I'm
50
not
is
gonna
too many.
accept this at 10 towns. I'm not gonna accept it at 12 towns. You're gonna have to go for at least 50, and I want you to stop reaching toward Boston to get the survey results. We live on the outer barrier of 495. We have Blackstone, Bellingham, and a lot of other not quite so wealthy towns as Milford. But then every time I see a survey, I get Hopkinton, Wellesley, Waltham.
Not including ours.
Okay, let me see the data. I wanna see
Fine,
the
you can
data.
have the data.
When I have the data and I've had enough time to analyze it, then I'll take a position on this.
Fine.
Otherwise, I say no.
Aldo's next.
One thing that I see here is that we're attempting to invent the wheel every year. And we don't really need to invent the wheel every year. A quick question, Dennis, when you survey communities to find out what their salary rates are at that point, when you come back the next year, do you survey the same place?
Yes.
Okay, so if I looked at your numbers for 5 years, it's town A through whatever, those are the only ones you've surveyed.
Those, yes, the 13 towns that we surveyed,
13?
those are the ones we use for all of the labor grades.
Okay, now, let me ask you this, how did we get so far out of whack? Assuming that with the 2015 numbers that we use, we were
Well,
supposed to
the
have.
numbers we used in 2015 were more than likely surveyed in 13 and 14,
Then why did we use them?
because that's what the consultant put together for us.
And that's what their board
Yeah, okay,
accepted
yeah,
as
well,
acceptable.
okay. But I don't see any mechanism included in the process which says every single year, we're going to decide whether or not Milford is at its level or has fallen behind.
Well, as part of the presentation, if I recall correctly, we said we were going to survey
A third each
every
year.
year, and over 3 years, we would have all salary levels resurveyed, and if we were out of whack, we would bring it back for a vote.
After 3 years.
Yes.
Okay, but is there not a mechanism in place which allows you to survey last fiscal year's numbers and put them into our next fiscal year numbers if they warrant an increase? I mean, we seem to be getting so far away from these things that we have to come up with numbers that, for some of us, kind of give us, reason to think about certain things. But, I think I think it's not questioned by anyone. We need to treat the folks that work in this town with respect, because we have good folks, they're working here with respect. Now, if this, let's just say, if this were to pass the town meeting as you've planned it, what's gonna happen next year?
What's gonna happen next year? We'll continue to do surveys, and over the next 3 years, we'll determine whether or not we're still competitive. And if we're not, we'll adjust.
I think what happens, and I know in my case, I see that you were surveying things 3 years ago, and here we are. Why did we wait 3 years to bump it up?
Because I don't know if you heard me earlier, I went to Jerry Moody and said, I've got survey information for some salary levels, because we didn't do all every year, we did certain positions. And he suggested I wait until we have them all done before we actually implement.
I agree with what Jerry said, because it would have caused a firestorm.
Cause issues.
However, we can check salaries by picking key salaries. We don't have to check 40 from each of the communities. You can take a number of critical salaries, check them every year, and make your adjustments yearly. But that's enough, so I'm done.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat what everyone else has said. But similarly, you know, a 10% increase in 2 years. And, you know, Dennis, at least for me, I'd want to see the data. I really would want to see the data. Data, you can make data do anything you want it to do, okay? But you got to compare similar-sized towns, your median, you talked about longevity and how that could distort data. So at least for me, I would want to see data. And this seems, and maybe you've been working on it for years, a bit hurried. And, because this has a huge financial impact to the town. It is a significant impact to the town. So to me, it's just rushed to me. So again, I would like to see data, and I would defer any decision at this time.
Chris, the issue that Aldo raised earlier about the benefits, I don't think that should be completely swept to the side. I'd like to see some at least incidental data. I mean, we're spending upwards of 30 grand a year on group health insurance per employee in a family. So, I mean, that's a significant percentage of a person's salary. I think that we should at least see some.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to brush that aside. I apologize. I came across it. I just figured it was going to muddy the waters a little too much for the comparisons.
But that's a
But I
good
think
point.
it's an
That's a good-
excellent.
That's a good point.
Yeah, just a comment and then a question for Mr. Carroll. I am getting the sense that I had a couple of years ago that this was not well thought out and properly vetted before it went to town meeting. So at this juncture, I would be greatly opposed to this going forward until it is given the study and in-depth study that's required. Because I too was gonna go back and use YouTube to look at the town meeting, because as I recall, there were some people there who wanted to ask questions of the consultant, and I don't think he was even at the town meeting. Is my recollection correct?
No, he was at our meeting, though.
Wasn't
Yeah, I don't think he
He
was.
was at your meeting,
Yeah.
but he wasn't at the town meeting, because, to be honest with you, I didn't like the guy at all. I didn't want him there.
That makes two of us, Dennis.
I don't feel so bad.
The question I had for you is, when your opening remarks, I think you made reference to the effect that the town of Milford is having difficulty getting qualified people to do jobs in the town of Milford. I don't know if that's a position shared by the Board of Selectmen, but put that aside. My question to you is, you referenced the local inspector and the building inspector. What other positions in the town of Milford has your board found that we've been unable to find
Those
qualified
are the
candidates?
only two, Robert, that have come up.
Have you, and that is the extent of your research?
We did that research.
You did it, okay.
We provided that research because of our difficulty getting here.
So are those the only two in town, Bill, do you think?
Those are the two that we were struggling to fill, so we went out and got that information to put a Band-Aid on that.
To make a broad statement like the town of Milford is having difficulty finding qualified candidates based on two positions, I think is misguided.
How many positions do you think we've hired in the last year?
Not my job. Not my job.
But also on the other end, Dennis, that means no one's leaving.
Mr. Chairman?
That's right.
We just hired a lawyer. We hired an accountant.
Selectman
You know, I
Buckland.
think it's important that the personnel board get, there's something actionable from here. So,
Yeah,
you know,
and that's what I was going to go with.
creating the list, what I have not had an opportunity to look at yet, and I don't think the other members of the board of selectmen have, how many towns responded, how many surveys did we, and how many positions, because data drives a lot of different decisions. We're working anecdotally, the personnel board is not. The other thing is, I think that's important information, because it helps build confidence in the data. I think the other piece of it, Aldo mentioned, what I refer to as total compensation. That is compensation of salary plus benefits, to understand where people are. If that's what this board would like to see, that's an actionable item that people can go out and get. With respect to timing, I think Zach has some comments. I read a memo today that we probably ought to hear from him.
But Bill, moreover than that, I think there's an issue here where the town of Milford was given some promises, and I need to go back on my notes, that says these are 8 steps.
I agree. I said that at the selectmen's meeting.
Okay.
I said the same thing.
I mean,
That's all
now
I
we're
heard.
saying we're gonna keep people in steps and give them a raise, and
Yeah, and
once
which
we,
I'm not even sure
so
we
I
can
think
do.
there were some promises made, and I need to do some homework too, to be on safer ground, so. That is, to me, is the core issue, is the
We presented
promises that were
something-
made by the personnel board, and now we're coming back and we're saying, oh, no, we're gonna keep the 8 steps, we're gonna keep people on steps, we're gonna, come on. It just doesn't make sense.
So there's 2 questions there, Bobby, if you'd allow me, Mr. Chairman. I think the question is it legal? I don't know, because something different was represented at two town meetings ago about steps and increases. The second thing is, and everybody gets to use their own compass to decide this, is it ethical that we hold people back on steps? And I think somebody mentioned, Phil mentioned relative to timing, what we might need to do in order to fully vet this.
Mr. Madanza?
I think one of the points that will help close the gap as to how we got so out of control with the numbers is when they set up the new step grades, and this was a concern that I had and a few other people as well, there was no cost of living, they said there was gonna be no cost of living adjustments to this salary scale. So for 2 years, so from the data that was created perhaps 3 years previously, there were no cost of living adjustments to the salary scale. So if the starting position was $20 an hour, 3 years later, that step 1 is $20 an hour. But you may have gotten a few step increases, but the beginning point and the rest of the steps were not affected by a cost of living adjustment. I think that's part of with this initial study that they did. There was a lack of foresight in putting that. They made the steps bigger, but didn't change the range so that people would get, a 6% increase, but those ranges stagnated. So it probably could have been some forethought as to how we're gonna incorporate a step increase as well as the cost of living, or else your scales in 3 years, just by factor of not having a COLA, is gonna put you 5, 6, or 7% behind.
And Paul, I think once we see the numbers, I don't think anyone up here is gonna argue with the numbers. I think everyone has an issue with the method. I think that's what the real issue is up here, because I'm not gonna do another method this time and then find out 3 years later that we're using 2015's numbers instead of 2013. It just doesn't make sense. And to highlight your point, if we're not doing it the right way, how many times are you gonna do it the wrong way before you figure out we need to fix the way we do it?
Perfect.
And once again, I want to give you guys the time. We're 5 weeks out from town meeting. We're basically doing budgets tonight. I can't, because right now, obviously, I don't think you want us to make a decision tonight. Dennis, I think you can tell from our from our reaction.
If you
It's
guys
probably-
wanna vote on it tonight, it's
No,
fine with me.
but my point is, I think maybe we should think about this. I think committee should think about it. We're going to be later in the month. My advice to you, and I think that we read it today in a letter from the finance director, is that you do Article 2 the normal way that you do Article 2. And you come back, and if we want to do a study for next year, and we want to raise everybody 10%, but we have a foundation to go with, to justify the 10%, then let's do it. But I do not want to willy-nilly, and I didn't mean it that way because I know that you've done work, but my point is, we took 2 years and the study wasn't effective. I do not want in 6 weeks to do a new study and make a decision on that could have serious financial impacts to this town. I mean, I think even with the skipping the steps and that kind of stuff, this is a big impact.
Yeah, it's a big,
And I think that,
it's not as big as it could be, but it's big.
there's no question, but next year it's gonna hit us even harder too. Because people are gonna hit the steps. I just think that I really think you guys should go with Article 2 the way you normally do it. Continue your studies. We'll meet periodically throughout the year. And if you want to implement this new program next year, let's look at the data and that kind of stuff. But I don't think that this is any decision that I think that this committee is ready to make in the next 3 weeks about Article 2. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think I've kind of seen the expressions on the people's faces around the room, so.
Chris,
You're right.
if I can, could I please ask that if you feel it's necessary to continue the study, that you promise to have a liaison at our meetings? We haven't had anyone from the finance committee show up in a year and a half.
That's That's fine, but also, I will do that, and if it's me personally, I will do it. I need it, I need this to be done right. Dennis, we
Well, hey,
unanimously
you know,
didn't like it, and
I'd
I'm,
love to
it's not
have
hard.
input. I'd love to have input. so
I'm not
would
on
my-
the personnel
so would
board,
my
though. You know,
Well, you certainly, guys have ideas that you want us to understand.
and the point's well taken, Dennis. So can you do me a favor? I will be your liaison. So from now on, let me know when your meetings are, and I will show up. You got outranked.
Tomorrow night.
Chairman Walsh.
We're meeting tomorrow night.
Thanks very much. And I don't mean any disrespect to the personnel board at all. I know you do a lot of great work and a lot of hard work. But this is a classic example of where the town of Milford, almost $100 million a year corporation, is human resources. That's what I was doing. This is a classic example of, why we need to seriously look at that position. We do. And again, I mean, no disrespect to the personnel board, they do a lot of great work, but this is, everybody's talking 23 months down the road, and where are we? And that's what we need to look at.
I'm gonna say the same thing, if you're looking for a liaison, part of the goal-setting process this year was to hire an HR that would serve as that liaison between the finance committee, the personnel board, and the board of selectmen, so.
I just didn't want to speak of that because that wasn't my position to do that, so, but I'm glad you did that. Thank you. Alberto, and then
The
Mike.
one thing, Bill, you brought up, what's legal, what's ethical. This is Milford. Let's make sure we do what's right. Because we should look at our school teachers, our firemen, our policemen, and every other employee, and treat them equally.
Well, in fairness, the personnel board doesn't have them under.
No, but Bill, I'm not saying them.
Yeah, yeah,
It's out of their purview.
right.
But you're the leaders, the selectmen are supposed to be looking out, and whether you have school or not, you don't, but we should make sure we're being fair, because 8%, that is a massive jump, and I'm having a hard time, Dennis, getting my hands around, we did 13 towns, and somehow we went in less than, 2 years, 23 months, to saying we're 10% out of whack. So if I go back and look at those 13 towns, my slow way of thinking things, their salaries went up 10%. And I'm not reading it. Everywhere I'm looking in the papers and all, I don't see towns around us going up 5% a year on their employee salaries. So I'm totally confused as to how, regardless if we loved it or hated it, it happened 23 months ago. Now, 23 months later, we're saying to be competitive, their salaries went up 10% in 23 months, so ours have to.
I don't think that's true, Al. I don't think that's what he's saying. I think he's saying that the study 2 years ago was flawed. He didn't have the right numbers. That's why it's 10% now. No town in this area has given their employees 10% increases in 2 years. We probably have the largest budget of the towns in the area. So how can that
And that's
possibly
why
be
I'm
true?
struggling with it, Michael.
Right, exactly. I have a more basic
I thought
question.
no, Mike, then Jeff, yeah.
I'm sorry, who's?
No, you,
am I out
I'm
of-
sorry, I thought that was your point, yeah, absolutely.
Give us the number. What does Article 2 become with this, if we were to adopt this? What's the number?
What's the total?
What's the total value number change in Article
Delta?
2?
Net, net.
What's the delta between Article 2 your way and Article 2 the regular way?
It's the 2%. Can I give it a shot of explaining?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
No, Zach, can you do me a favor? Can you come up? Because I would like the public out there to hear this as well.
So, in the presentation that they gave, that represents that implementing this new salary study would be an increase of approximately 2%
Right.
on salary and 2.5% on hourly. I analyzed the data, that is true. When you compare what it would have been under the existing plan to this new plan, the new plan increased all salary, wages, and hourly rated by 6%, every level, just increased uniform, 6%, every one of them. If people stepped under the existing plan without any COLA, it's approximately 4 to 5% increase. So there's your math right there. If everybody steps under the old plan, increase is approximately 4 to 5%. If there was no step and there was a repeat of the existing step, which did come from me, then mathematically, it's a 6% increase.
That's
Remember,
sad.
everybody,
Put a dollar sign in front of it with a comma and 2 decimal points. What's the number?
I
I don't have it.
I apologize, I don't care what the number is,
Well,
to
I
be
think
honest
that
with
the
you.
population
I'm not
probably
sure
does,
I-
because nobody knows how big Article 2 is.
No, and I didn't mean to sound rude, but Mike, I don't care if it goes up $5, if it's not the right way, I don't wanna do it.
Right, exactly.
So,
Have it in you? Listen.
I'll get you the number.
Still, hard
I will
numbers
get
are
you the
always good to
number.
know.
But like I said,
It's
I
good
don't care what the number
It's
is.
approximately 1.4 million, something like that.
1.4
Not the increase, the total value,
Yeah.
so 2%
6%,
high.
the 6%.
6%.
How
All right,
many,
let's-
how many people are involved in this particular piece of the puzzle?
Approximately 80.
Yeah.
80 employees, salaried an hour.
And the school is
hourly
400
School's 800.
or 800?
Yeah.
Okay, I know the
See,
school
that's,
number, I know the school number.
I hear you 40,
Very small.
but now multiply that times 20,
Yeah.
and what the impact would be if we're gonna treat the school the same way. And
But we didn't say we're gonna treat the school the same way, those are negotiated numbers.
Yeah, that's
All right, guys, I think we got our point across that we're not a big fan. So, and we got a lot to do
Can I make
tonight.
a motion? Can I make a motion?
Yes, put
I-
that in the minute.
Unfavorable. I make a motion that we move, that this finance committee, let this go to town meeting with an unfavorable rating. And my concern is that in the past, once we get our wheels turning, going to town meeting, if we don't come with an unfavorable rating, or we just pass it on to sponsor, then we're not in a good position when we get to town meeting to stand up against this article.
Yeah, well, there's a motion on the floor.
And I just want to rationalize this a little bit, because to do nothing allows the personnel board to move forward, okay? And here we go, 23 months later, with the same kind of problem we have now.
There's a motion on the floor, but Jerry, can I ask you before I ask for a second?
Sure.
Dennis, do you,
Or 2 others.
sorry.
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Boy, Dennis.
do you guys want to rethink this before we vote on it? I think you might want to.
I think they have an action to get us some more data, number one.
That's my point. Do you,
I mean, they can come back with more data after town meeting, and we can revisit it again.
But let him finish.
I'm trying to help Dennis out here.
Yeah, he might just.
You want us to, do you guys maybe want to rethink Article 2 before we vote on this? It's up to you, I don't care.
I am not gonna make that decision, the board is.
Okay. For this board, I would say that maybe we should send them under advisement, but obviously, whatever this board decides, it decides. There's a motion for an unfavorable rating from Jerry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion.
guys, whether we love it or not, I think out of respect to the personnel board, I would rather not vote tonight and give their board a chance to rethink it. And if they tell us they don't care, then okay, then we can vote.
I think we need to know what the numbers are.
But I would like to, out of respect for their work, give them a chance as a board to rethink it and come back, or say, no, we don't care. That's totally within their purview, but I'd feel a lot better about voting
Yep,
if
of
I
course.
gave them a chance.
Jerry?
Can I respond to that?
Absolutely.
And I appreciate what you're saying, but has the personnel board treated us by getting us up against town meeting deadline 5 weeks out in the middle of a huge budget process, and now all of a sudden, we take this gigantic curveball and go, oh, we cannot respond to this properly. We do not have it, it's not been done properly. So the best thing to do, quite frankly, is to turn it down and let them come back later. It's not being disrespectful, we're doing our job.
Just making points. I got Phil,
Yeah.
then I got Andy, then I got Jeff.
Yeah, I agree with Al in the sense that you should go back to your board and reconsider. I do agree with Jerry in this, if you decide to go forward, then we're gonna vote, and chances are it's gonna be unfavorable. You should know that, okay? But, I think one of the overriding issues here, and it occurred 2 years ago, is really communication. And I'm glad you're gonna be the liaison, because someone has to be, because last year, 2 years ago, the presentation, no one understood it here. And you can.
Absolutely. I can understand why you didn't.
And so there's this, we have to know the numbers, we have to know the employees that it impacts, we have to look at data. And I think you need that contact with us, rather than just coming, to Jerry's point, and say, hey, 5 weeks before town meeting, here's the deal, it might be $1 million.
I mean, in our defense, we are supposed to have a liaison,
Yeah.
and no
but-
one shows up.
Well, okay, but go forward, we should do that. And the other thing you gotta keep in mind, you can't just focus on the delta, it is a 6% increase. that gets compounded, because you're gonna go back to the step increases in future years. So it's not just a change, it's 6%, and then you're gonna layer on that in future years.
Andy?
So,
I'm just a little confused procedurally. This was brought to us, I assume we take a vote. You asked for it to be taken back, and he said it's up to the board. It's either the request, as I understand it,
Oh,
is
no.
being withdrawn, in which case we don't.
I was
know.
just saying that, but he's not withdrawing it, so we're voting.
Okay, so
See, the problem is,
Point of order. No, that is not.
If there's a motion and a second, we have to vote on it.
Okay.
And there has been a motion
We-
and a second.
We could pull back Jerry's
No,
motion.
they can pull back.
They
The
can
two of
pull
them,
back.
that's my point. And if they don't pull it back,
But
we're
what I'm
voting
saying
on
is,
it.
Andy, we don't have to vote on it tonight.
Then you need to
We-
talk to
we
two
do
people.
Have to vote at some point. We could vote on it
That slide
tonight.
says support of finance committee to get Article 2 passed with these
See what I'm
needed
saying?
changes.
I understand, but
is this gonna
that's
be
the
brought
proposal.
to town meeting without us having another chance after tonight?
Yes, it could go.
no,
no, because this would be our recommendation, unless they want to come back on the 26th for reconsideration.
But if we did nothing tonight, could
And
this
we-
come back for another, would this come back to us again, so we'd have a
We
chance?
would, we have to, so we would
could.
make a decision on the 26th. No, it
So-
will.
It will.
To Jerry's concern, my understanding, his concern is we get ambushed, that it doesn't, we don't rule tonight, it doesn't come back, and now it's a town meeting. Is that,
Yes,
is
yeah,
it?
that's exactly my concern,
So
and
let's
the,
just
and the other
address
concern
that.
I have is we don't get prepared to present our
With all due
case.
respect, I don't believe that's the case.
It's happened
because
before.
We have to take a vote. I agree, Jerry, but
Yeah.
we have to take a vote. If Phil
Right.
withdrew his second, Jerry withdraws his motion.
Come back in the
On the
summer.
26th, it's an open article for us. We would have to take action at that point.
All right, with that being
It's not
said,
like it won't
I
happen.
don't want to debate over procedure anymore. I want to get this done with.
Can I call for,
Yeah, just let Jeff and then let's just
Yeah,
do this,
let Jeff,
please,
yeah.
because we're spending way too much time on this.
Just a quick question. I heard what you said about, it's hard to hire someone for the town. I've only heard about two, the wiring inspector and the building department, right? We just hired a legal. Why does this have to be blanket? Can't we just address one-offs? Can't we address the wiring inspector? Can't we address the building department separately?
They are in
That's a
a
good point,
particular
Jeff.
salary level. If you address them, you address everyone within that level.
How many people?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, but it would be more than one in each case. And then you're gonna be giving increases to a select group of people within the town and ignoring the others.
Hold
But
on.
if the disparity is with them, because you said the median is 10%, if the disparity is with them compared to other towns, they're the ones that need to be adjusted.
No, Jerry's not, he's not.
You know,
They might be at the wrong level.
They might be at the wrong level compared to other towns. Until we see the data, I think, you've heard that loud and clear here, that we need to see that. I think that's the question I would have for sure.
I want this done with. We're spending way too much time on this.
It's important, though.
No, but my point is, no one's mind's getting changed here. We're talking about procedures, talking about everything else.
Right.
We're spending way too much time, and I didn't mean it that it wasn't important, Mike. But my point is, I think everyone's got their opinion now. I don't think anything's changing now. Selectman Buckley, you had a point before I move this along?
Yeah, so philosophically, we can get into a lot of different spaces on this stuff.
Excuse me. Yeah.
So,
Did you get it?
I think the personnel board needs some targets, needs something actionable so that they're not in an effort to go fetch a rock and we tell them it's the wrong color rock, right? So, very specific and actionable things. But on top of that, I want to dispel the notion, and I think we've got to make some agreements, that when we find people there's a problem with their compensation level, that we hold them off, artificially deflating their salary against their peers in other communities, while we blanket cover the entire group.
Yeah. Good point.
Because salaries in certain positions are gonna rise and fall differently. And this notion that we have to give broad, across the board, increases to everyone, when we might have 2 years ago found out that position XYZ in the assessor's office is 15% under. We're gonna hold that off until we get the data 2 years later for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's a flawed process, and I think we need to change it.
I think we need to work on a lot of stuff. I think that's
do,
the
and
point.
it's just one of them.
All
That's
right.
not what you have in front of you.
So I have a motion and a second.
One last, I'm sorry,
No,
and this is a
don't say
procedural
sorry,
question,
it's
Mr. Chairman. So we have a motion on the table.
Unfavorable recommendation
Unfavorable,
with a
so
second.
if that is, if that is found a vote against that, does that in fact default to a favorable recommendation?
Nope, we would need a motion for that.
No,
We need a, right.
no, it just,
Someone would have to counter with a
So
motion.
one or the other. It's-
And if the vote obviously get voted down for an unfavorable, the votes are there for a favorable. So I can imagine it would follow, but there has to be a second vote.
Okay.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Jerry and Phil, you leaving it on?
I'm leaving it
Well,
on.
who made the second? Did I make it or Bob made it?
Bob made it.
Bob made it.
Bob made the second?
Bob
I
made it.
apologize.
I think it's, I'm staying on because I think.
Then we're
it'd be-
voting.
I would be willing to step back if we get a commitment from the,
You can't.
hold on, Jerry, hold on. If we get a commitment from the Personnel Board that by the 26th, they will have come back, looked at it, and said, fellas, we've changed our mind, or B, we haven't changed our mind. Is that enough time for your board to get together and make that decision? Because
We have
if
a
we
meeting
vote,
tomorrow
excuse me, I haven't finished. If we vote unfavorable on Article 2, and then they change their mind, that unfavorable stays with Article 2, even though it's something we asked them to do. You follow me? This is Article 2 we're voting on,
No,
Mr. Chairman.
no,
So if
is
we
it
vote
Article 2 as
unfavorable,
amended?
And the, beg your pardon? No, but they've got to come back again, or we have to revote it again. So I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait, if they make the commitment that they will have decided by our next meeting, Mr. Chairman, which way they're gonna go. Because if you decide to scrap this plan, which I strongly recommend you do, and go with Article 2 as initially proposed, then we should vote on that as favorable, or at least I would vote as favorable.
So you're retracting your second, Bobby?
Well, I'm waiting for the chairman of the,
Wait a minute, I need a
Personnel
point
Board
of
to
order.
make
I
a
need a
commitment.
clarification. Are we voting on Article 2 or are we voting on the plan to amend Article 2? There's two
And
different.
to amend what he
Plan to
presented
amend.
it's the
today.
same thing,
Amend
Jerry.
Already
Article
presented
2.
today.
You just said we were voting on Article 2.
We are.
No, we're not.
no, it's the plan to amend.
No, that's incorrect. This is the plan to modify
I
Article 2.
understand Robert's rules. Let's just talk common sense for a few minutes. We know what he presented, and that's what he wants. That's what we're voting on.
That's
Then
not
I will
Article
not
2.
rescind my second.
That doesn't change Article 2 going to town meeting. Article 2 going to town meeting is already pretty much cast in stone.
All right, I got a retracted, I have a retracted second. Is anyone else gonna make a second for an unfavorable
I didn't
ruling?
retract it.
No, he
You
didn't
said you
state.
I
did.
said I will not retract it, what you
Sorry.
just said. No, I will not.
Okay.
And if you
Then
vote
we're
on
vo-
it, let's
then we're
vote on
voting.
it.
There's a,
This is on the
There's
plan
a motion and a
to
second.
modify Article 2.
that's correct, as presented by the Personnel Board. So all those in favor of an unfavorable recommendation on Article 2 as presented by the Personnel Board tonight?
Vote.
You down, Alberto?
Let's take a count.
Yeah, he
All right,
could
one
have said
down.
he could have come back, but he
Al
didn't,
said
didn't
no.
say anything, so.
Are you abstaining, or you,
Okay, we have a,
I just want to
Hard and
answer the
fast
question.
that You won't reconsider?
no, it's a vote's done.
Hard and fast, you won't talk to
It's
your
done.
board?
No, I'm willing to talk to the board. We have a meeting tomorrow night. And at that meeting, I will let them
Time
know.
to do this.
I tried to answer you and you shut me
I don't want to
down.
talk anymore. Yes or
I
no?
said, let me finish.
You're done. Please, stop.
You vote, you jump.
What did you vote?
No.
He voted no. Thank you. Next article. Thank you.
Wasted an
Kevin, why don't we do you first, get you out of here.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna start going over articles.
Good discussion about it.
The articles we have tonight are,
Mr. Lobus is here.
I don't wanna say housekeeping articles, they certainly are not, but they're the less controversial articles. First article we have is Article 21. It is proposed by Mr. Lobiser regarding a zoning change in downtown. Normally, we refer to a personnel board on this,
Do you have the warrant, is the warrant in here?
but it's a financial article, and I wanted Kevin to come in and explain to us what his article is.
Is this on the
They're on the money.
agenda for tonight?
Yes, it is, the
Sorry, I don't have
articles.
a copy.
Kevin,
Yes.
please.
Is
We're a
the
little
warrant
frazzled.
loaded?
Yeah, that was exciting, holy cow. So I'm
$1,500
Kevin Lobiser, I
lawnmower.
own Lobiser Building Corp., and a week from Friday, I'm gonna be the lucky owner of Middle School East. So what, I guess I'm just gonna try to go quickly over what we're doing, but the purpose for being here is that we are trying to go in front of town meeting with an article that is going to do a very small amendment to the zoning in the CA and the CB district, which in a nutshell, would provide the ability to do a 55 and over housing component in the CA and the CB. We, we tried to, the reason why I went for the 55 and over is many reasons, but first of all, it's a very low burden on the town. Obviously, by being 55 and over, there's no kids. We'd be responsible for our own maintenance of our building, our own trash collection, and all that type of stuff. But my bigger reason was because I am a developer. We build in all surrounding towns. And in Milford, which is really one of the biggest towns that we have in our area, it's the only place that we never have 55 and over or senior housing developed. So I felt like there was a need for it. I feel like we've got a lot of Milfordians that are, sitting on houses that they've had for many years that are, worth probably somewhere in the mid 300s, and they really can't sell those houses and get out of them and move to housing that they would be comfortable living in. So that's why I feel like I have a pretty strong need for that type of housing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how detailed you want me to get into the actual,
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
think
I
so.
do- yeah,
I guess
don't.
probably the most important thing is I did meet with Jennifer last week to go over at the assessors department, to just talk about what we were gonna be doing to the building, the type of value that we thought the building would ultimately have, which we're today forecasting it to be probably somewhere around $4.5 million. So with the current residential tax rate, it would be putting out about $73,000 per year in tax revenue for the town.
Excellent. Before I open up, I know the end of the last and the beginning of this, people may have lost this. This is about the rezoning of the Middle School East area in the downtown to allow residential housing. Obviously, Kevin purchased Middle School East. I don't know if all of you have heard about that. He was the only one that put in the bid. And he has a pretty extensive development. It looks beautiful. I don't know if anyone's watched the selectmen meeting or the planning board. So this zoning change would allow him to expand into residential housing.
Yeah, hi Kevin, how are you? Good. Could you explain the zoning, because I know we're talking about Middle School East, but it has other ramifications, which I think would be very helpful for this committee to know.
Yeah, so, again, just kind of quickly, so we have the CB zone, which we're in, and then you have the CA zone, which is more central downtown. We are not trying to provide a bylaw that's going to be encompassing of everybody's needs and desires, because personally, I think that bylaw doesn't exist. So we were not looking to fight City Hall on that one. But what we're trying to do is in the CB zone, if you wanted to go for a special permit with the planning board for 55 and over housing, you would have to meet a few requirements. And that would be that you would have to have a minimum of 1.5 acres. You'd have to be able to provide your own off-street parking of 1.75 spaces per unit. And the parking is what would determine how many units you could ultimately put in a project. So there's no real predetermined amount of units that can go there, but it's predicated on how much parking you could get. As you moved into the CA zone, which I'm not in, but we definitely had talked to a bunch of people that said they'd like it to be also part of that zone. You don't have to provide your own 1.75 parking spaces, but you would have to prove that you had access or an easement to some sort of parking that would ultimately result in the 1.75 parking spaces.
Okay.
And the one other small one, Phil, was that in the CA district, you could not do, even if it's just 55 and over, you could not do residential units on the first floor, which would have to stay retail or whatever the existing use was. So that's kind of it.
No, that's good. I think what I like, Kevin, is it's the 1.5 acres, because a developer could come in and buy a number of smaller dwellings and put something together that would make sense for the community and the developer.
Yes.
So that's what I really wanted to focus on.
Yeah,
So I
and
think,
that-
because,
and that was the purpose of it.
I think we all want to see improvements to Main Street, and, personally, I've worked with Kevin, and he's done a number of buildings for our healthcare system, and he really does very good work, so.
Thank you.
Alberto?
Mr. Chairman, you said before this wouldn't be referred to sponsors, money issue. Where's the money issue?
No, I'm just, the development of the downtown, the increased tax revenue from the development of Middle School East would be significant. What was it, 73,000?
Yeah, it's right around 74,000.
Would be increased revenue by allowing Middle School East to be developed in that manner.
Chucky, in
School doesn't pay any
the past,
taxes.
whenever things have been changed, like when we were changing residential to commercial, we always took a position because that had a monetary impact. To me, even though this isn't going residential to commercial, it's going to make a change. We're gonna pick up a net 73 grand. So this is, to me, a money article.
Okay.
That's why I wanted Kevin, excuse me, that's why I wanted Kevin to come in. Jeff?
Hi, Kevin. There's been a lot of chatter about, oh, you got the building for steel, you know, it's worth this much money. Can you give the public an idea of what it's gonna cost you to develop it? It's not gonna be cheap. We all get that. you
Yeah,
know,
the abate, well, I mean, obviously, Jeff, we've only done the preliminary plan, so I haven't done the internal plan. But the demolition and the abatement alone right now is coming in around 750,000.
Just
Just a demolition.
And abatement, yeah. Thank you.
$750,000 a million, just to get.
And I agree with Phil.
And that doesn't include the new stormwater management, because obviously there's no storm scepters and Caltech systems for drainage and all that fun
I
stuff.
agree with Phil. You do everything for the best interest of Milford, so thank you for that, too.
I'll email him.
Yeah.
Alberto? And then.
100% in favor of this, but I have a curiosity question. We had a project years ago which was plus 55, and it didn't seem to go as well as they proposed. I mean, you're putting a lot of money in,
Yep.
and your reputation, so I believe that you have done the due diligence.
Yes.
Why do you think this will work? And what happens if it doesn't?
Well, I think I know the project you're referring to that didn't work, and they kind of bought out of doing the 55 and over and stuff
Right.
like that. What I will tell you is that I've been doing 55 and over for about 14 years, and I've never pulled my plan, and I've always followed through with it. So I think there's many reasons, by the way, Al, that I like to do the 55 and over. First of all, I find it very difficult to build for millennials, so I actually really enjoy working with that other population.
Do you want us to edit that clip?
But you know, as I said before, I've never proposed a 55 and over in the town of Milford, but I'm in Hopkinton, Upton, Uxbridge, all these towns. And, you know, so many people from Milford know that we're building those projects, and they always come over to see us, but we can never make the numbers work because of what I just said. I mean, the main population of Milford, our housing is, you know, up in the university streets and all those type of streets, and they can't sell those houses for $500,000 or $600,000 and then move into these, you know, sort of large 55 and over places. So
How many over 55 units, ballpark, do you think?
that we're looking to do on this property, 36 units.
Oh, okay.
And currently, the mix would be 24 two-bedroom and 12 one-bedroom. And we need to do two-bedroom because a very high percentage of the people that we sell 55 and over housing together, they don't stay in the
Well,
same
it's a
bedroom.
three-bedroom. It's the three-bedroom that
When you're
worries.
married long enough, you go in separate bedrooms.
Our amendment to the bylaw, Al, is only for two-bedroom.
Yeah, one and
Cannot-
two-bedroom
cannot
I
do
love.
three-bed- yeah, cannot do
That doesn't
three-bedroom.
cost us a lot of money
no, no,
to
no.
support.
I like this,
And,
I
yeah.
like this plan.
Yeah, I do too.
Chairman Walsh?
Can we just?
Yeah, can we move, can we just go?
Important as a newly retired 9-year school committee member, and twice as chairman, what we need to focus on is that, and the board knows that the school committee unanimously voted to turn it back to the town. And we did a study for a year. Did we have any use for the building at all? And we determined that we didn't. We kicked it back on the town. A very important point that you made, Mr. Chairman, is that Kevin is the only person that came forward and put a bid on that property. And what the public has to focus on is that once he purchases that building, he's back on the tax roll. And that's an important issue. He's gonna spend a lot of money, and anybody that hasn't seen the project in the town crier or any other publication, one of the things that was talked about in the community is, particularly the people that went to the old section of the high school, he's gonna knock the whole building down. He's done a beautiful job keeping the main section of the high school. But I also think what's important too, and we can't lose focus of, is when you're sitting at that traffic light outside during the daytime, you have this beautiful town hall. Thank God they just renovated the convenience store. But you look across the street and you got this building with shades up, shades down, windows open, windows closed, you know, trash. This gentleman's coming before the community and saying, I wanna take this building and I'm gonna really, really make it something that this community can be proud of. And to Phil's point, could be one of the first steps to revitalizing the downtown area, because the people that are gonna live here, and unfortunately, I have to admit, I'm over 55, but they can walk to St. Mary's, they can walk to Sacred Heart, they can walk to any church.
Senior
they
center,
can walk
right
to-
down the
walk to the
street.
senior
Yeah,
center.
exactly, and
walk
that's,
to Dunkin'
this
Donuts,
is the
too.
kind of
I- that-
development that we want to encourage in our community.
Yeah, I need to hear
hope
from Mike
that
and Aldo, and then we
we
want
all are in favor.
Mike,
Thank you
Daniel.
very much, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, thank you. Mike?
I was wondering if the zoning board of appeals and planning board have taken any positions on this yet?
Zoning Board of Appeals, no. Planning Board, I have been in front of the Planning Board, and I would say that they would like to try to put together a more comprehensive. They want to try to answer all the questions for everybody downtown, and I just didn't feel like I was necessarily the guy to have to do that.
Okay.
I think it's on the agenda for next Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah.
Aldo?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that the Finance Committee vote favorably on Article 21.
Yeah, I second, yeah.
Oh, you jumped out of their seat on that one, huh? Diana just raised
It's a good
everyone.
thing.
Hey, Kevin, you do first-rate work, and everybody in this town, your
We also bought the old Mill
reputation.
Street building, and that's getting redeveloped this summer.
All right, I have a motion in 10 seconds for a favorable recommendation. I would write anybody, I don't even know. All those in favor for favorable recommendation on Article 21?
Yeah.
Thanks so much for Kevin, and good luck with everything.
See you
Next
later.
thing, Mr. Deluzio. There are several articles on the town meeting warrant for 7, 8, 9, and 10, proposed by the Town Meeting Improvement Committee. Is that your technical? Study and Improvement, thank you. So we're gonna have Reno come in. He did a good job presenting them to the selectmen on Monday. This committee has been put together to try to improve the flow and procedures of town meeting. And he has some articles on here that they think will help to start to achieve that. If we want to start with Article 7.
Doesn't look on with me. You can look
I
on
can't
with-
look on with you, I don't have one.
There you go.
Just, now Reno, you know I love you to death.
Yes, but, there's
Is
always a
anybody
but.
that comes
There's a
in
clock
here
on the wall, and we're a little
Oh,
late.
yeah, no, I'll go quick. You know, that's why I,
Let's mark that in the book, Ray.
yeah, all right. I just handed out this one sheet, because that just gives you an idea of what's on this committee's plate to address. This committee was established back in October. We're well organized, we're functioning, we got participants who didn't get, applicants who didn't get appointed to the committee. They signed up to help us out. So we got a good group moving forward on all of these issues. The issue, you know, some of the comment was that you got too much and you can't eat this elephant all in one time. And if we didn't start to do things in parallel, we'll never get there from here. So that's what this organization committee is set up to do, is to do things in parallel so we can get some of these things behind us. And the committee is guided by the town meeting survey, which was done in 2017, and the enumerated duties that were in the article last October. So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, I'll be glad.
Do you want to take them article by article? Article 7, that's to change the time of town meeting.
Yeah, that got overwhelmingly support from the survey. The feeling of the town meeting in that survey was that it should be moved from 7:30 to 7. Now, we thought the town meeting could authorize that for all town meetings. Turns out by state statute, they cannot. They can set the time for the annual, but the selectmen's authority sets the time for the specials. And we were at the selectmen's meeting Monday night, and they support their,
Motion
that for
refer to
the
sponsor.
Second.
I get a motion to a short sponsor from Albert, a second by Aldo. Discussion, Bobby? Yep.
I thought one of the recommendations, Reno, and I just read it real quick, maybe I missed it, was that we were gonna say the Pledge of Allegiance before town meeting.
Right now, we left it up to the moderator's discretion. That wasn't a survey question,
I thought it was.
was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on the list, but we haven't taken a position on.
That seems like a no-brainer. I mean,
There's more to come.
I understand that, but my question is, you tackle the tough ones, but the
You know
easy
Reno
ones-
is never done, please.
Please, no, I mean, I
I'm
mean,
kidding
it
with
is
you,
the
Bob.
epitome of democracy to have that town meeting, and we have a beautiful flag up there, an American flag, and to me, it doesn't require any change on our bylaws to get up and say the Pledge of Allegiance, if you so choose. If people don't want to.
Reno, do you
Stay
need a
close.
liaison to your committee from the finance?
Yeah, you got Bobby.
We will at some point.
I'm kidding.
No, we will.
I'm kidding, Reno.
7 years, I haven't learned yet.
That was a joke.
No, I can
Oh,
assure,
but that seems simple.
you're right. I won't argue that point.
Yeah.
For some reason, it didn't get on this year's list.
I got a motion.
Okay, I
But
can accept
I can
that.
assure you, the town moderator
He hasn't finished.
will address that at the beginning of the meeting. He did it before.
Motion by Al.
This is on the time. Then you can go to that.
I bet.
Refer to sponsor. All right, I have a motion by Al, second by Aldo, to refer to sponsor on Article 7. All those in favor? Unanimous. Article 8,
All right, let's see, standing vote.
closing time.
Yeah, now this is, these articles, for the fact that the committee prepared 6 articles. 3 of them were within the authority of the town meeting, and 3 of them had to be adopted by the selectmen by policy. So the ones you see here are just those, but the selectmen have the other 3. But anyway, this one here, and the earlier one we just discussed, their intent is to take some time out of the town meeting, so the town meeting doesn't run too long. Right now, if you want to end the town meeting, somebody's got to stand up and make a motion to end it. This article flips that. The town meeting debate ends at a certain time, and the town meeting ends at a certain time, and someone has to stand up to continue. Because people are somehow embarrassed to get up and close the meeting. So this puts the action in reverse, that the town meeting debate ends at 10. The last article can be introduced at 10, and the meeting should end at 10:30. There's a Mr. Chairman, there's a presumption that the meeting begins at 7. Yeah, the meeting begins at 7.
Yeah, that's actually
right.
that's actually a really good point.
Good point.
So we start earlier, we have a more definitive way of closing the meeting without having people embarrassed, and we accomplish the same thing.
Quick question, how does this affect, I mean, technically, we're not supposed to have a meeting without a quorum. So if people walk out,
Yeah.
so,
No, anybody can question the quorum at any time.
I think the quorum would trump.
right, I was gonna say, the quorum
So-
still trumps
Oh,
this.
absolutely, yeah.
But this would just say at 10:01, if we want, like last year, we had, or a year before, 4 articles left, and we had to come back the next day for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So this would keep that from happening, but you have to do it proactively.
That's right.
Right.
Motion to refer to sponsor.
Question,
Yep,
just
absolutely.
where you make the 10 o'clock call, and you have the vote at 10 o'clock to continue, say like you say you have 4 articles left. You don't have to do a new majority vote for each article, do you? Or
No,
just
just
one
continue.
vote for whatever's left?
Yeah, and then somebody could say, one article runs too long, I adjourn, and we go back and come back another night.
I think, I think you would have to do it for each article.
Yeah,
Because if you throw one out there and now it's midnight, that doesn't mean you're gonna go to 12:30. I think you'd have to extend the debate time for Article 7, same thing for Article 8.
Well, it's a vague point. As written, it's vague for
Right, so
that
you have to
issue.
Qualify what you're saying here.
Aldo's got 2 in a row here.
Whoa.
I think he's right.
Bobby's next.
I just want to raise the question, is why are you referring to sponsor? I think these are great recommendations. We spent a considerable amount of money with a consultant to study this and come up and formalize the recommendations. And I think as a finance committee, we should take a stand and say, yeah, we think this is right for the town. That's all.
I agree.
I mean.
Agreed.
This
Make
is
a
some of the
motion, make a
easiest
motion.
ones we're gonna have.
Make a motion.
I'll withdraw and change to,
You never know for sure.
Make a motion, I'll second.
He just changed
I
it.
have a motion for a
who
favorable.
seconded it?
I'll second it.
Will you withdraw the second?
No, I didn't, no, the original.
I don't
motion-
even think we had a second, to be honest with you. I think we started talking. So you retracted it. So now we have a motion for a favorable recommendation by Al,
Second.
second by Jerry. All those for a favorable recommendation for Article 8 for closing time? Unanimous. You want to go back to 7 and change it or
7,
no?
wasn't
No.
Article 9,
All right, this is an administrative change to the standing vote that created the committee back in October. The committee, when it has a vacancy, at least the original language, said the town moderator shall fill that vacancy in a certain order. Those who are still eligible on the committee whose town meeting term is expired, if they wanted to continue, they would be given the first preference. That was, the rationale behind that was that if a committee member is working on one of these topics and they extend for several months and he or she is not finished, we'd like that person to stay on and not have to automatically cut them off sooner than is necessary. So the order was, go to those who are there now. If they want to continue, have them continue. If not, then you go to the applicants that are still on record that applied for the committee as a second priority, and the third priority would be any member of the town meeting at all. Town moderator would go through the replacement in that order of priority. Reno, are you presuming that membership on that committee requires that you be a town meeting member?
Oh, yes, only town meeting members can serve here, by the standing vote.
Okay, but I mean,
And we're not assuming that, that's what's in the
yeah,
committee rules.
maybe I'm missing the point here, but as a committee, like, for example, on the building committee, the moderator appointed an individual.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a town meeting member.
No, but if you read the article that created the town meeting study committee, you have to be a town meeting member. In fact, we're the only committee that has term limits.
That's fine, that's right, I just wanted to,
Nobody can, oh, in fact, all right, now, so what happened was, at the October meeting, someone stood up and says, I don't like that priority. We shouldn't let the people who are there be a candidate to stay forever. So he flipped it, said that the priority ought to be that another applicant should get a shot at it.
we can send them to Congress.
Yeah, right.
There's
So,
40 terms.
so we said, no, it's gonna impede our work, so we want the original language back. However, we modified the original language slightly in this article that says that person cannot be nominated for more than 2 consecutive terms. So there is still a limit, but we let a person who's working on something that can go on for a period of time to stay with that project. That was the rationale. Oh, this is administrative.
Motion to approve.
Favorable recommendation by Mrs. Schiavi. Do I have a second? Second by Aldo. All those in favor for a favorable recommendation on Article 9? Unanimous. Article 10.
All right, this one controls the speaker time. There's been incidences where, well, in fact, quite often, where people get up to speak on the town meeting and they come up with a 3-ring binder and all sorts of notes and go on and on and on. So, and that's been an anecdotal complaint of the town meeting as far as I can remember, and I've been on town meeting for 45 years. And in the survey, we really felt strongly that we should somehow control. You can't limit speech because that's unconstitutional. So we don't limit speech, we control it. So the presenter of the motion has 10 minutes to present his
It
motion.
worked out
That
quite
last
well.
town meeting was
Right.
fantastic.
And there'll be a motion from a member of my committee that will ask the moderator for that again this town meeting.
Great.
But now this institutionalizes the control.
This is a good one,
You're sold, Reno.
that's a good one.
Motion by Aldo.
Second.
Second by Bobby. All those in favor for favorable recommendation on Article 10? Thanks so much for coming
I
in,
have one
Reno.
more. Article 5.
What's that?
It's a selectmen's article, selectmen and treasurer article.
And then we should vote against it then.
Yeah, right.
And is
No, let me just tell you a story. You don't need it.
Chairman of the Selectmen okay with Reno taking over your article, or what?
No, I'm not. I'm just gonna tell you how it came about.
Okay.
One of the proposals we made is that we consolidate the street acceptance.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Consolidate the street acceptance articles into one article. And if someone wanted to debate a particular street, they could pull it out and we vote on the rest.
This was the best one you did. I apologize, I didn't remember what one you were talking
So
about.
the next group was the routine articles. Treasurer, selectman right to take legal action, selectman right to borrow. Lumped all of those, and this is before we talked about this to the selectmen. But Jerry got our articles, and he says, well, we can do the routine ones this year.
So-called housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's how this.
Reoccurring.
Jerry's not here anymore.
Reoccurring
So
housekeeping.
that's how this,
Great point, and that's why I don't know if anyone has the warrant, but you'll know, there's only 28 articles on the warrant.
same idea.
You might not need
For this
the,
particular reason.
10 o'clock, shutdown.
Good.
We may take enough out of the,
Exactly.
we may get it done all in one
I
night.
move favorable on that one, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Well, tell Mr. Valandi when he gets it back, we did his article without him. I have a motion for a favorable by Aldo, a second by Jerry. All those in favor for a favorable recommendation
Aye.
on Article 5.
Good job.
And I will get at that Pledge of Allegiance, so don't you worry about it.
I won't lose any sleep, thank you.
This is long overdue.
It's important.
Reno, thank you very much for coming in. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry we were late.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think
He
it's great.
wasn't here. He said, let's keep Reno late.
I lie to make
Good to
friends.
see you all.
All right.
Take care, Reno.
Let's do Town Clerk, Article 16. The Town Clerk is proposing $28,000 for some voting machines.
28 or 48?
Oh, 48, thank you, Jerry. They have spoken to the capital improvement, the capital subcommittee. Alberto, if you can discuss what that entails.
Basically, we don't have a choice. The voting machines need to be replaced if we're gonna vote, and it's 48 grand to do it.
What article is this? I'm sorry.
16,
Paper ballots cost that much, Al?
48,000.
Then the machines that count them do.
I move favorable.
Favorable recommendation by Jerry to
today.
spend $48,000, second by Andy. All those in favor for Article 16? Unanimous.
Yeah, and by the way, that came under special circumstances, and that's the reason we taking it up in May, not.
They open the window.
All right, School Committee, Article, School Committee, Article 6. This is Al's potato chip money. What this does is it allows the schools to take the revenues from the vending machines and apply that to the Student Activities Fund in order to be able to fund the activities at the schools.
What article, please?
Article 6.
I move favorable.
Motion by Schiavi, second by Jerry for a favorable recommendation on Article 6.
Ricky came up with it.
It
All
does
those
this
in
now.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Point of order, this should be a housekeeping item.
It's finance, though. I think they talked about it. I'll ask him again, but I think it's,
Mr. DeVita,
it was proposed, but I think it got kicked.
shouldn't this be a housekeeping article? Wouldn't this be, couldn't this be a housekeeping article?
We'll discuss
We'll
it.
discuss it.
We'll
Never mind.
discuss it. Let's not
Let's
do it
go.
tonight.
Yep, right. There you go.
What else do I have for the schools? Article 14. Article 6 was unanimous, favorable.
14.
The motion was by Schiavi, second by Jerry, unanimous. Article 14 is the purchase of a freezer up at the high school. Their freezer is malfunctioning and is about to die, and obviously we don't want all the food to die in there. They have proposed this to the capital plan.
Already dead, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, is it really?
The food is.
Oh, the food is? Oh, Schiavi,
Boy.
the humor.
I gotta sit on the
We've
other
already
side.
talked about that.
Mr. Korea, can you talk to us about the freezer?
Yeah, basically, this is the original
14.
fridge
1-4.
freezer. It's not just the freezer, it's the fridge. It is the main repository for all the food in the district. We went up, we inspected it. It's coming apart, and the real issue is that as it's coming apart, it's leaking in, allowing moisture and mold builds up. Carla's doing an incredible job to control it, but it's only getting worse. Now, normally we would wait till the fall, but we, as a group, agreed this is special circumstance because it takes 8 weeks to implement. And giving the school committee the money in the fall and trying to implement it mid-year, we went through rentals, we went through all sorts of things, and nothing makes sense.
This is baked into your
Move
capital
favorable.
budget?
This,
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
just so we all understand, the 1.5 million that we normally budget for the fall, we told the school committee, this comes out of that. So, you know, if we go ahead and do this, just like we did with the Chromebooks.
Yeah, that's.
We're not proposing to increase the 1.5, this would now be 1.4.
Start line
So
gets moved
this is the
forward.
1.5 less the 88, and that's a new.
Right.
That's correct.
I move favorable. We don't need.
Now, question.
Quick question.
Now, the question I have is, we have 3 other schools. All of those schools have freezers, if I'm not mistaken. They can't take some of the load off?
They could. They could, we looked at doing two things, Aldo. One was shifting some of the load. The second was getting, you know those, what do you ever call them, sea containers? And putting them in the parking lot.
That I wouldn't do.
But, I mean, it's a Band-Aid. We couldn't, long-term, supply the whole district, and in the summer, all the kids who need food in the summer, that's all done out of there. Best we came up with, the best we came up with was Band-Aids.
No, that's fine, I just wanted to
Why
be
do
sure.
all those workarounds?
Mr. Chairman?
We don't have to.
Motion favorable.
Just the best way.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chuck. All those in favor? Unanimous.
I don't need to be here till 10 o'clock.
You want to do 15, playground?
Doctor's
Yeah.
appointment in the morning.
Article 15 is another school committee article regarding the renovation of the playground down at Memorial School. They actually even met tonight with the capital subcommittee. Alberto?
Again, this is one that we had voted and approved to pay for 50% of the initial $130,000 estimate on the playground. Since last fall, there's a new committee on the disability front that's proposing new guidelines for the ADA. We did not build in the access ramps for wheelchairs and the things that are needed. We beat this thing to death to say, do we need to spend 37,000? The article's for 50. They believe it'll be 37, and if we vote favorably and town meeting approves it, then they've given us the commitment that they would not go over the
How
37.
many access ramps you find?
Whatever the ADA requires.
$1,000, you can put quite a few access.
Yeah, but it's the ramps, it's the ramps, it's the surface, it's the
With you,
base.
Jerry.
Now, the question we had was, okay, this takes care of Memorial. What happens with Brookside?
You don't wanna do that.
'Cause that's the other sister school. And what we got was, we don't have to do anything for that yet. Any kids who need wheelchair access would be placed at Memorial, so they have access to that. And then, once the Disability Commission comes down with a firm edict, we'll then debate, because it's gonna affect Brookside also. So the committee, after beating it to death, said, you know, we're better off, since we're starting this summer to build that playground, funding the proposed changes so we're safe, versus doing 130,000, having it done, then finding out we gotta rip it up and modify it. So the committee
Good to go.
agreed that we should go ahead and vote favorable on the 50 with the knowledge that it better not be over 37.
Right.
Move favorable,
Favorable motion by Jerry,
50,000.
second by Andy on Article 15 for the school committee. All those in favor? Unanimous. Rick, why don't we get you up and start pegging these off? Thanks, Rick. I'm sorry. I know we're running late. Article 3. Try to go numerically here. We did 5. Reno couldn't resist.
Yeah, Article 3 is just the salary for elected boards officials.
Yep.
Move favorable as presented.
Favorable by Jerry, second by Aldo on favorable recommendation for Article 3. Discussion?
One quick question. Planning Board Chairman, everything else was 2%, that one went up 14%. Did I miss something?
Gotta be a mistake.
It has to be a mistake.
Could you just
Yeah,
look,
check
because
that
I don't want to put the
2598.
report
Yeah.
that goes from,
598.
but it was 2285. Just do me a favor. It seems like I've got a bad number for 18. Because it makes no sense that it went down. Just check that number for me.
that one, sure.
That's all.
Yep. Not a problem.
Move favorable as with the notation by Mr.
Yeah.
Motion by Jerry.
Last year, then
Who did we already do? Did we already do a motion in a second? Gabby, you always pay attention.
I missed that one. I don't know what he was talking about.
All right, a motion by Jerry with the caveat that we checked on the planning board number.
Chairman number.
Yep.
Could be a typo, could be anything, but
Second.
Second by Jeff for Article 3. for favorable recommendation. All those in favor? Unanimous. Article 17,
17, yes, this one would
Gone down.
amend the town bylaw to allow the HR director to be a member of the personnel board. Again, both Board of Selectmen and this board, this committee have determined that we would go forward with an HR director. That HR director would work obviously very closely on a lot of the things that the personnel board does. So this
Move
article.
favorable, Mr. Chairman.
Quick question, just, this gives the new HR director a seat at the personnel board,
Correct,
a voting member seat.
correct.
Thank you. That's good.
Um,
I'll second it, as
a
presented.
second by Jerry.
Why is this a money issue?
I just want to look at something real quick. Is it the chairman or a voting member?
Just a voting member, the way it's worded right now.
The way it's worded right now?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure of that.
Just asking why this is our jurisdiction, this is
Yes.
just.
It's not a financial article, it's just a support for the selectmen.
It's a salary issue.
Oh, no, it is.
No, it's not.
Is the compensation being dealt with?
No, it's not saying that we're creating a human resource director. It's saying if there is a human resource director, the human resource director would be appointed to the committee.
Correct.
So Andy, to your point, it is not a financial article. It's one of those we support them, but good question.
I'd still move favorable on it, but
And Jerry's still moving favorable. Would anyone like to still second it? Al?
Just a point of information, if you look at the guidelines that are set forth for the finance committees, their responsibility is to provide a recommendation to the town meeting for all articles. And you have the option of referring to sponsor. But if, in my opinion, my humble opinion, Mr. Chairman,
No.
if we think there is something right that's gonna improve and increase the efficiency of town government, then I think our job is to put forth a favorable recommendation, that's all, Andrew. I mean, yeah, you can go either way, and I've gone either way, but.
I know, Andy, we give the most mixed signals on that. I couldn't,
Absolutely.
and for Andy, who you're new, I'm telling you, we do. And I can't say that we go hard and fast on anything. We try to be as efficient as possible and do things one way or another. But to Bob's point, you get emotional about something and,
And we
you
think it's the right way
know,
to
6
go.
weeks from now, we could vote on it and we could refer to sponsor, so.
very well said.
I can't, but you're exactly right, Bob. All right.
If I may, real quick,
Yep.
Andy's point and Bobby's point, a great point is there's nothing better to go to town meeting, bring an article to town meeting, and be able to look to your right and have the finance committee say favorable. It's just, it's like a blessing, so, thank you, Bobby, for that.
Thank you.
Father DeVita.
That was Article 17. All right, so we had a motion and a second. All those in favor for a favorable recommendation on Article 17? Unanimous. Article 18.
Yes, as I'm sure everyone knows, the bottling plant is closing down, and will be closing down. We did have a TIF agreement with them, so obviously we need the board to decertify that TIF agreement. Therefore, we back on the tax rolls, et cetera, so this article, we need.
I love tips. Go
We
away.
need to,
I said favorable second, this is a good one. Favorable. Second.
Motion by Aldo, second by Jerry for a favorable recommendation on Article 18. All those in favor? Unanimous. There are some of them I don't want to do, so that's why I'm reading them. I
Okay,
apologize.
understood.
Article 19. Compensated absences.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Yes, this account has been getting low, so we're looking to replenish that. This is when police and fire.
Injured on job compensation, right? Or is this the compensation for that we pay out when they're injured?
What is this for, is the question?
I'm gonna have Zach.
Compensated, yeah.
That's the compensation for injured, it's a $100,000 account we pay out, right?
We do have a account that you're referring to, however, this one.
Two different ones.
Is compensated absences, so many of the unions have potential buyout of vacation when you retire or even separate from service, some of them of which actually have sick time incentive buybacks. So when you don't know when someone's gonna retire, it really could be a budget buster, because we're talking some serious money. So a few years ago, probably more like 5 at this point, we, per statute, went to town meeting and approved a revolving fund, appropriated money in which when these situations arose, we would charge that fund rather than the department. So we've had quite a few retirements in both police and fire over the past couple of years, depleting it to nearly zero by the time this town meeting comes up, therefore the necessity to replenish it.
And there's a likelihood in the near future that we will
Yeah,
have
this may
in
not
both
even-
forces, so this may not cover it.
Yeah, point of order, all future contracts don't even have this in it anymore. This is just people that are grandfathered in, right, Zach? The ones
No,
that-
they, police and fire still do.
Oh, they do?
They have been over the years basically cut in half. It used to be 20%.
gotten better,
It's
but it's still
10%
there.
now. It's still there, yeah, and I don't think it's going away. Yeah.
How much money is that? Do we need on this article?
This is asking for 100,000.
But it's not spending 100,000.
It's not
It's just,
spending
this is a replenishment of a fund.
Put it in.
It's filling the piggy bank back up again.
Yes.
It's not necessarily spending 100,000.
It'll be spent, we just don't know
It,
how
oh,
long.
it will be
Move
spent.
favorable on 100,000.
Favorable by Aldo, second by Jerry. All those in favor for 100,000 replenishment for Article 19?
19.
Thank you, unanimous. Article 20, once again, I gotta read these. Yep, Article 23, mitigation plan.
Same concept. However, this is the one we talked about with myself and then subsequently Kelly Capisi, Benefits Coordinator. This one has lasted significantly longer. The original appropriation was 100,000 about 8 years ago. We went to the selectmen, went in front of this board. We seem to have had unanimous approval,
But Zach,
100,000.
talk to people who don't understand, why are we spending this money?
We're spending this to replenish the original article that allows high claims employees the ability to be reimbursed up to $500 a year in the event they had spent out-of-pocket costs in excess of $1,000 a year.
So this is
This is a
insurance.
benefit, this is a benefit to our employees.
No, I'm just saying, this is
Yep.
insurance, because a lot of people have no idea when you say to replenish the account
Yeah.
that we approved, but what was the account for? If somebody spends an excessive amount of money, this helps town employees not get burnt as hard.
Correct.
The-
Yes. Well said.
Move favorable for 100,000?
100,000.
Yep.
Move favorable for 100,000.
Favorable by Jerry, second by Jeff. All those in favorable? All those favorable? You know what I'm saying? All those in favor? Unanimous. Want to do 25, or do you want to wait? It's your prerogative. Whatever you want to do. Are you ready for it? or-
Yeah, I don't see why.
All right, Article 25.
25 is providing authority to the Board of Selectmen to acquire any necessary parcels or easements. We're doing the Route 16 tip project.
Wait a minute.
No, no, it's
This
not.
is the town council.
It's time.
Actually, no, I should qualify. There's one extra article, it should be in yours, and I think 25 is actually the tip. If you're looking on your computer, Chris, it's probably not the
Yeah,
correct
it's not
one.
growing. So you tell me what Article 25 is.
25 is, we have the Route 16 tip project. It's fast approaching. As you may recall, town meeting ago, we did appropriate $200,000 to pay for the necessary easements and taking of parcels. This will allow and authorize the Board of Selectmen to effectuate the taking of
Exactly. So
those
this
easements and
adds no
parcels.
money whatsoever.
It
This
is
just
not a monetary
Having
article.
the selectmen spend the money that we previously had allocated. We had allocated $200,000 in anticipation of land takings for the Route 16 project, and this is just giving them the permission to spend
Okay,
it.
a silly question. What happened to the other article? What was 25, does that just shift
No,
down one?
yeah. So if you could,
Just wanna make
as you're
sure.
going through them, Chris, maybe I'll
Thank you.
try
So
to,
when I,
my apologies.
no, don't apologize, because we had talked about this, and I should have printed out a new one. It's my fault. So Article 25, like I said, is the ability for the land taking. Do I have a motion favorable?
So the ability, this gives the authority.
The authority.
So
We've already given them
We've already
$200,000.
given them the money.
So now they're gonna start to do it.
We were gonna wait till October.
Sign,
Yeah.
basically.
We were gonna wait till October. The consultant is saying,
Nope.
No, unfortunately, that article did not do that.
It was silent. just
Yeah, we were gonna wait till October, but we need to
just wanted
really
to get
get
the money
moving.
to fund it.
Second it, I'll second it.
We need to get moving now.
Motion by Phil, second by Jerry for a favorable recommendation on Article 25. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Should we put it in one article if this happens again, Rick, do you think?
At times, I look back, because I was curious about that same thing. There are times where we did put it in one article, and there are times when we didn't.
Okay.
So, but in answer to your question, most likely, yes, yes.
So, Mr. Valani, I'm assuming Article 26 is town council.
Yes, yeah.
Do you want to talk about this one, or do you want to wait?
I'm fine to talk about
that's
it if
fine.
you'd
I
like.
just-
The
there were
Board of
some of them-
Selectmen have voted on all of these and have voted favorably at their Monday meeting. This one simply, as everyone knows, Jerry's retiring, or has retired. I think he's working harder than ever. New town council does not come on board till April 30th. We have had a gap, so we have a number of things that we need town council for. In addition, Jerry is staying on to handle some projects, such as the 40B projects that are ongoing. So we're in a position where, and Zach can explain the money part of it better, that we want this as pretty much a safety valve to continue to do and handle, although, knows, 50,000.
Motion to approve 50,000, Article 26.
Again, if we don't use it all,
Yep.
Motion by Jerry, second by Aldo for a favorable recommendation for Article 26.
Can't get around this.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
Billable hours.
I
Like 10.
I do apologize. Can you tell me which ones you have now? Because I took the water company ones off, because I didn't know if we wanted to
okay,
talk
you
about
took
them tonight.
those off.
So tell me what we got left. I'm looking for them now.
I mean, if you want to take care of,
Well, we can do them on the 26th, I don't care.
you could take care of Article 5 now, which is,
You did.
did all those, I stepped out of the room. Did Reno take care of those?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so those are all taken care of.
The only ones that left that I took off was the water, anything to do with the water company.
I
I
think,
didn't know if we wanted to do them tonight or you wanted to wait till the 26th.
Not dispatches.
yeah,
I think we're good
I
with
think
the
that's
select.
it. I don't think
That's
there's
what I
anything
thought,
left
too.
from the
That's why I
select.
did what I did.
Sorry?
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's it for what I wanted to do with the selectmen tonight. Thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate you waiting. We ran a little, oh, boys, don't clean up. We got a lot still to do. Oh, what is it, Article 8, 10 o'clock, you gotta go to bed?
No, mine's
Still gotta vote on that.
Exactly. How much is the water money going to?
We'll talk about that by the 26th. All right, actually, Rick, can you,
Doing budget.
can you give, yeah, in a second, that's the next thing we're doing is budgets. Article 20, Rick, can you, I missed this one and I apologize. It's proposed by, and I will butcher this and I do apologize, Demos and Nicoletta Paris regarding solar. Is this something, I mean, we can't refer to sponsor because they're the sponsor. Would we refer to the planning board? Do you know anything about it? I didn't want to pull these people in.
Well, they should be here though, shouldn't they?
Well, I didn't invite them because we're gonna have it on the 26th because I missed it. But we're having another meeting. But is that, do you know anything about
I believe
this?
it's a zoning change, and I think it is to allow solar panels on, in a certain area, and I think it's in the area of the Dairy Queen, up on Route 140.
It is the Dairy Queen.
And they're the sponsors
Oh,
of
all
the
right.
article.
And I didn't mean for you to speak to it. I didn't
That's-
know.
Can we not speculate?
I would prefer you
that's
not.
fine.
but
No, and I didn't. I just
It's
didn't
about
know
as
if you
much
knew.
as I know about it right now.
That's fine.
No, I like Chris's idea.
I'll bring
Yeah,
him,
bring him in.
I'll bring him in on the 20th. I just didn't know if you had some information on it, because to be honest with you,
That's all I have on that. And I
That's
think
fine.
planning board is actually, it's on their agenda, I believe, Tuesday night.
oh,
the
beautiful.
18th.
All right,
so
then we'll do
pretty-
it. I'll invite him on the 26th then.
Pretty sure it's
All
on
right,
their
great. I
agenda.
just wanted some info on it because to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about it.
Yep.
That was just for my own thing. All right, those are all the articles. We will have some more on the 26th that we will address.
26th or 25th?
Oh, the 25th, I'm sorry. We are gonna have one more meeting. I put it there tentatively, because we are still finishing up some budgets and articles. So that
25th.
Wednesday, if we can put that in there, if we can meet, we are gonna finish up some budgets, and then any articles that are hanging, the selectmen have some articles, and then obviously I will invite, the Parises to that meeting as well. All right, next item on the agenda, I wanna start tackling some budgets. I know that there are some budgets. Yep,
General government's ready to go.
okay. I wanted to start to tackle some budgets that were within the,
I need Mr. Valani to stay here for until.
Yeah, oh, no, he's not gonna wait, yep.
Because I'm gonna reference our discussion about the general government budget.
All right.
There's a little task to do between now and.
Okay. So, once again, I want to start tackling Article 4. There are some departments that are still out. There are also some departments that are going to need some significant talking points about, and I didn't want to do it tonight, because obviously I knew tonight was going to run long, and I didn't think this needed to be any longer than it needed to be. So we will have those departments outside the recommended ranges come in on the 25th to defend their budgets, but I do want to get some of the budgets out of the way that were within the recommended ranges, as well as if they were outside, but it was simply for contractual reasons, which we always allow. So, Jerry, would you like to go?
Yes, general government. I'm chairman of the general government subcommittee, and we had a meeting today at, well, it's actually started the meeting at 2 o'clock, and then everybody else showed up at about 4:30. With the help of Zach, Tom, Mr. Valani, I think we had a very good meeting. Had good attendance. The assessor's office showed up. The election, town clerk with the election. Everything is within target, well within target. We're very pleased with how the general government came in. We only have one exception, and we're gonna kinda like, I've PO'd that back to Mr. Valani to review with the Board of Selectmen and get their approval on it. It's a request for a part-time employee, and it's a very insignificant amount, and it's about $18,000. And I would prefer that Mr. Valani, Zach, and the Board of Selectmen say yes or no, and then we'll proceed forward.
Great. So what we'll do is can we just talk about that on the 25th then, or? 'Cause I can't.
There's no need to talk about it. I don't really think it. I just wanna, just procedural wise, I have to allow the town manager to do his job, and that's what we're doing.
I just wasn't sure what you were asking for, Jerry, so, all right. With that being said, let's start going through the other departments. Obviously, we're not voting on Article 4 tonight because there are other departments. I just want the update of where these are, so that when we meet next time, that we can address Article 4 as a whole, obviously. So with that being said, Zach and Tom, do you guys want to go through these and highlight anything that you think we need to have just a brief discussion about, or the reasons why it might be outside?
One quick question, really quick, on the general government budget. Do we have anything budgeted for the old Purchase Street School that you said you were gonna look at selling for the last 4 years?
Nothing but.
Nothing
Okay, so
came
we
up.
don't expect any money. Have we done anything to try and get that off our back?
Had the meeting with the selectmen, they decided after the lease is up, they'd revisit it. It's still in lease, right?
When is the lease up?
They got
2000, I think it's 3 more years.
Okay, I just want to know that we haven't forgotten.
Oh, no, we haven't forgotten it.
He's tried,
Would-
Cool, as long as I know there's something happening, I'm happy.
All right, gentlemen, wherever you want to start. You want to start at 175 and work your way down, or?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, had you distributed the spreadsheets we provided you?
It is, well, when you sent it out, it's up on the drive for any of you to look. And Paul has been good about always sending us emails of that when the budgets come in.
Very good.
He sent us out emails. He's with them attached, as well as they are up on the drive.
You should actually have 3 tabs there.
Yep.
And the tab on the far left is a master, which includes the budgets we're gonna talk about tonight that we feel should just be approved. And then, as well as budgets that need to be reviewed. So if you look at the 3rd tab, farthest to the right, that's the tab with all the budgets that we feel are within
Guidelines.
the guidelines and that we're ready to talk about.
So that would be in the FY 2019 folder. We had a.
Okay.
So it's in the FY 2019 folder. And if you click on Article 4 PDF or the Article 4 annual Excel spreadsheet, both of them have pretty much the same information on there. In either one of them, will give you all the data that Tom and Zach will be talking about tonight.
Oh, my goodness. Alrighty. All right, fire away.
Good.
So, Mr. Chair, I was under the impression we'd be going through tonight the approved list. Is that correct?
Well, that's what I mean, and that's what was the list that you sent to me,
Yes,
which
okay.
is on that Article 4 document.
All right.
Everything else we'll talk about on
Yeah,
the
all right,
25th.
perfect,
so.
perfect. So starting with First Department, 114 moderator, simply 2%. You looked at Article 3 earlier, it's just a 2% increase for contractual obligation there. Selectmen, same deal, level funding general expenses, 2.7% increase, result of Article 3 increase, as well as Town Administrator Valani, again, contractual. You're gonna see a common theme here.
Yep.
131 Finance Committee, you guys actually dropping 12% in your general expenses, well done.
Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we dropping?
Just move on.
Further, keep in mind that all these Article 2, budgets with Article 2 positions are built based on the original recommendation that came out and quote-unquote, the old plan, we'll call it. One of the driving
Thank you.
factors of.
Zach,
we didn't
thank
really
you very
discuss
much
that.
for bringing that up, and I should have done that, and I apologize. When the budgets were put together, they were done under the assumption of the normal Article 2 movement. It was nothing to do, so when you look at these numbers, they were not what the Personnel Board presented tonight. So I think that's important. When you're looking at these budgets, it would be the Article 2 as we normally would do. Thank you, Zach, I would have forgotten, and that's an
But that's the
extremely important,
And
but that's an extremely
that was
important
another
point.
reason to vote
So
unfavorable.
these budgets will be significantly changed if Article 2 is proposed the way the Personnel Board had it. Sorry, Zach, you were at 135? 131?
Yep, 131, so again, step increase for Mr. Abadanza, and decrease general expenses a little bit, 3.1 overall. Reserve fund was sticking at 103, was here otherwise, it seems to be a good number. Town accountant, 135, salaries increasing 6.4%. We hired a new town accountant to the left of me here, and that's just built contractual obligations. Myself, my salary is also in there as well. You see a 4% increase on the general expenses, but if you actually look at the numbers.
I have a silly question.
you-
All of these are within our guideline, correct?
Yeah, that's why, I don't know why we're going over.
Then
well, I
would you be upset if I said motion to accept as presented?
I just wanted to give I like this very much, but I wanted everyone,
I don't wanna be rude.
and that's what I just said to him. I'm like, listen, I don't want to be rude,
If anybody's got
but.
an issue, pull it out, and we'll talk
All
about it.
right, so at this point, can everyone take a quick look at this? Obviously, we are gonna be readdressing things on the 25th. I think that everything they've done here is great work. It all meets the guidelines. Like I said, I didn't want to be rude. I wanted everyone here to have the time to go over this. I think everything's fine here.
Mr. Schiavi may object to the one that went down.
Yeah,
All right.
I've gone over this with
he did. Yeah,
No,
many
thank you.
times.
Then if you don't have any objection, motion to approve as presented.
Well, we're not gonna approve anything.
Motion to recommend as, accept.
These
accept.
budgets. All right, thank you.
And that's for expediency, so we can
Oh,
get
no,
on, spend
I-
some time on some areas that we need
Yeah,
to spend.
Jerry, I dig it.
So,
Trust me, I dig
And I
it.
believe the library's ready to go too.
this is general government,
Yeah.
so.
also includes the library.
Library was, yeah, that was,
It doesn't include the
610.
library, but it could.
It is here.
0.4%.
Yeah,
Again,
610
these
on the
were
library.
meet guideline
Back page.
budgets. so
It does,
not just
a
general.
5.7% increase is,
increase.
meets the guidelines? The general government, 5.7%?
Yeah.
So I have a
Well, wait a minute.
Well, they
Michael's
do-
bringing
they have
up
contractual
5.7.
increases built in.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at tab 1, you'll see the very first page is a summary of every department.
Yeah.
Whether it be safety or,
I think we have to take out some more money for the building commissioner, don't we?
well, that-
So that doesn't appear here. 'cause
Doesn't
it's-
appear here.
that's on the review, that's
Yeah.
what will be discussed in a
All
future
right,
date.
I have a motion by Al, and I didn't hear one from Jerry, but I think
Second,
he
you
wanted
got it.
to. Jerry? To accept the budgets submitted tonight that all met within our guidelines of the 2% or contractual obligations. Any other discussion? If anyone does have any discussion on this, obviously, we're gonna meet again, so we'll be able to bring up if there is any question on that. So all those in favor of the acceptance of these budgets as proposed? Unanimous.
Sir?
I know you weren't putting up a fight, Jerry was the fight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the general government budget in 1780.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for your help today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we do have some articles left. One of the articles that is significant dollars, and it is up here on the drive. It's under Subcommittees, Public Safety. I'd really like everybody to take a look at this before the next meeting. What this was is, at the last selectmen's meeting, under the directive of the selectmen, the police chief presented a proposal, I guess you would call it, to increase public safety at our schools, and other things like parades, that type of stuff. It's a special task force. It's significant dollars. I believe year one is $671,000, and it doesn't go down year to year. It's pretty much gonna be a consistent cost. There's a couple ways.
What article?
It's in the budget.
It's gonna be in their budget.
It's in the police department budget.
Well, that's what they're proposing. That's why the budget's not here today. If I said article, I do apologize. Yep.
I'm on the public safety subcommittee. I think, Phil, you're on it also.
Yes,
so much.
yes.
Do you have that
We haven't had a
documentation?
We haven't, no, we haven't. had a
Okay.
meeting. Who's in charge?
Michael is.
I would like, okay.
That's what I'm saying, we haven't had one.
This has been proposed very recently to the selectmen, so, but either way, please, your committee, please do it. Otherwise, if everyone else, I'd really like you to read it. It's a well-thought-out, well-done plan by the chief and Robbie Tassino.
Neither Phil nor I are chairman of this committee, so if you could whisper in the ear of the chairman,
I would.
post a meeting, we'd more than be willing to get.
I would be more than happy to. In the meantime, for you guys, if you do want to read about this, and for the rest of us, it's under Subcommittees, Public Safety on the Google Drive. If you guys need me to email you just a copy, I can do that as well. But I think it's a good read. It's not long, it's about 4 pages, but it's pretty significant. I know that the selectmen, their response was extremely positive to it. I know after reading it, mine was as well. But it's one of the biggest things that we have going on in the town meeting that we haven't discussed yet. So, excuse me, please read that. I will be having the chief come in at that meeting, and obviously, everyone gets to hear it. So, have him do a presentation. Of course, absolutely. Besides that, we do have a couple other budgets that we still need to talk about. We have,
Footnote on that proposal, the police, that proposal doesn't include the $100,000 healthcare pension obligation.
I think they had all the other things in there.
Not, Zach and I looked at it today, and it's missing, but I just don't want to, just put that in the back of your mind.
Absolutely. I thought that when they gave us the total cost, they did calculate that, Paul. They didn't?
We added
We added it.
a sum to the health insurance to cover that.
Yeah, but I thought they discussed that amount at the meeting.
100,000.
Maybe, I'll rewatch the
It may have
selectmen's
been.
meeting, but I thought they brought that up at the selectmen's
May or may
meeting.
not be.
Because it was total
noted
cost.
on those total.
Okay,
One of the
but I'll
things that
check on
Jack
it.
has done a great job is when people start proposing new employees, he requires them to put forth their salary, their wage requirements, plus their health
Total
insurance. plus
cost.
the Total cost.
Total cost.
Puts it all out there.
Yep.
I really think that is long overdue, and it's a shocker when you look at a $50,000 employee, the ultimate cost is close to $80,000 by the time you get them on the boat.
And that's why a couple people like Andy bringing up the great point and
So that's-
Aldo
I
about
think
total
It's
cost.
a great move in the right direction. Just
All right.
that.
So we do have some big budgets we need to talk about. We have the fire department, the police department, I know the senior center, and the elephant in the room, Mrs. Schiavi. How we doing?
Not there yet, we're getting there, almost.
What budget is that?
You mean
The one you're not allowed to be on anymore,
Hey,
Mr.
Phil,
Sierra
Vernon
Cole.
Grove, Vernon Grove.
Yeah, Vernon Grove.
What do you mean, Mr. Chairman?
No, the schools. So we do have some work tightening up those budgets. But besides that, I think, on the whole, I think kudos to the department heads on getting together these budgets. I know it's always hard work getting that stuff together, but from all the budgets we saw tonight, we have a couple that we need to deal with. But when you're dealing with $110 million to have it go this smoothly, I think we're in good shape.
If you can get a hold of Mike and ask him to schedule, if not, let me know. I don't wanna overstep.
You're not gonna overstep.
I'll be more than happy
It's
to
extremely.
do it. I'll get Phil and I'll get together.
I will call him in 10 minutes.
And we'll have a report for you at the next meeting.
The second we adjourn, I will call him.
I can meet with you.
Actually, he said he was out of town, that's why he couldn't be at the meeting. Does anybody else have any other subcommittee reports or anything that anyone needs to talk about, any issues? So, as I mentioned in the email, I am gonna be posting a meeting for Wednesday, April the 25th, to go over the remaining budgets, and, I think there's 1 or 2 articles. Well, obviously Article 4. that we need to approve, and then we got to get that report out just 2 days after to be able to get to town meeting. So with that being said, is there any other business we have? I get a motion by Aldo to adjourn, second by Chuck. All those in favor? Thank you and have a good night.